Alright, so this is the setup video for the Nauticam housing with the Sony A7III. So I purchased this through Mosaic underwater cameras, and I'm filming the whole setup process just to show you guys how the whole thing works in case you're considering buying one. So you can see. So I don't have the O-rings in my housing right now, but that doesn't affect the setup. Obviously when you set up yours, you're going to want them in it, but I just don't have them in here because I don't put them in unless I'm actually using the housing. So essentially this is the housing body, and I have the dome port here, and then here's the dome port adapter, which is in this box, and the zoom gear. So I'm just going to go through the setup process kind of step by step. So first I open up the housing. You just snap it open using the opening mechanics, these red buttons. Pull out the tray. I like to put the tray on first on the camera. To put on the tray, you have to flip up the monitor, and you're just going to want to screw this on your camera here. There we go. All right. Next, I like to put on the zoom gear. So you want to make sure you don't get any dust in your camera when you do this, obviously. So put on your caps as necessary. So zoom gear goes on next. So put this on. This inner layer goes on first, and you want it so the rubber grips are closest to the end of the lens. So it slides on like this. Then you want the gear to be closest to the, I don't know, the lens opening. I don't know what it's called. You just pull this on. It takes a little bit of force because it needs to have, it takes force because there's rubber grips in the inner piece, so it'll actually turn. Otherwise it won't grip enough. And then now you can reattach this to the camera. That's an easy part to forget, to put on the zoom gear. That's something that you don't want to miss. Obviously take off your lens cap as well. I'd take it off now just so it's done, because it's a real pain to take it off once it's all in the housing, and if you're using a vacuum system and whatnot, you don't want to have to take it off once you've already sealed the whole thing. So I'm gonna close this back up, and I'm gonna set up the dome port and the dome port adapter. So I have a 180 millimeter dome port, and here's the adapter. So the larger part attaches to the dome port. So as I mentioned, there's no O-rings in here. I just don't have them in because I'm not traveling. So obviously make sure that's a really important thing. Make sure that those are in. So the O-ring would lie right here for the dome port. So I just flick this switch right here. This is the lock. This is the unlock position when this metal rod is down like that, and it flicks to the side to lock it fully flat. So you unlock it before you slide it into your dome port. So you look on your dome port for the little white dot, which is right here. You look on the adapter for the white line. You want the white dots to line up. So that's done. Normally there's a lot more resistance, but there's no O-ring, so you want to make sure they're also properly lubricated before you do this. Otherwise you can get an O-ring pinch, which is when they shift it into place. So anyhow, this is quite loose in here, but I just locked it, so now it's not going to go anywhere. Although it sounds loose, it's just because there's no O-ring. So now I'm going to open up the housing. You just flip this red lever, pull this front pane off. So there's different orders you can do this in. This is my preferred order, and this is going to drop right in. When you have an O-ring in here, you're going to want to make sure that you're going to have to kind of press it down. So I like to just press down with the sides. Obviously I don't have the O-rings in, as mentioned, so you don't need to worry about that. And this is snapped in place. It feels loose right now because there's no O-rings, but obviously when they're in there, it's fine. So now we can open up the housing again and unlock this lever, which is for the tray. You're going to want to pull on the zoom gear. So this disengage. Yeah, actually, I think you have to. Yeah. So here, if you pull on the zoom gear, you can see inside the housing it disengages the gear. So you're gonna want to pull on it and then slide it in, because otherwise it's not going to connect properly. So this is just gonna you slide in with the tray first. Make sure the tray is all lined up and all good to go. You disengage the gear so this can click into place. You re-engage the gear. There's a little locking mechanism right on the gear here. You line up your your screen how you want it. I like it kind of flat, slightly angled upwards. Make sure this is good in place. Give it a little push. You can stick a desk impact up here if you want to. Lock this in. Obviously check your O-rings, which would lie right here if they were in here. Check them for any hairs or anything like that. And then you just want to close the housing. So pretty standard. Just set this down on here. Oh, also before I do this, if you are using a vacuum system, you can flip this to on, and that's going to turn on this light to blue. And I'll just show you this now because I'm not going to be able to establish a vacuum without the O-rings, but you're going to want to unscrew this nozzle if you've installed it previously, and then the pump, you can just pump with the nozzle, pump on the nozzle, and then done. And it's going to turn green once the vacuum has been established. I'm not going to do that because the O-rings aren't in. Just for, yeah, this goes back on here. And then, yeah, so make sure that these are open before you try and put this on, otherwise it won't go. They're on both sides. This is just gonna click into place type of thing. See, it doesn't seem to want to go right now. So let's see if any of this stuff is, yeah, so the screen was too far forwards. There we go, it's in. That's done. So yeah, when you do the vacuum, you want to do it after the housing is closed, obviously not before like I was showing. So now the housing is set up, it's all good to go. And now you can see the camera turns on in here, the lens or the dome port sheath is on. I don't like to remove that unless I'm underwater, so it's going to stay on, but you have full functionality of the camera. Everything is in here, and you can obviously set any of your custom buttons to whatever you want. So I use back button focusing with the AF on button, which is right here. So I actually have all my custom buttons set for use within the housing, not when the camera is not within the housing, but obviously you can switch it. And then any fiber optics that you're connecting strobes to would screw in right here. And then you have your ball joint adapters here on both sides, and then you could get a tripod plate which would attach to arms. And yeah, that's pretty much the whole setup. It works great, and then the zoom gear is here, so it's clicked into place, and you can zoom in and out. And yeah, I'm really happy with the whole system, the way that it works. It seems very sturdy when the whole thing is running. I never feel concerned underwater. I like to bring the sheath with me underwater, so I'll just tuck it in my BCD on a dive, and then before I hop out on the boat and pass the camera to the dive master, if that's what I have to do, I'll just put this on as I'm surfacing, just that way, and I don't have to worry about it getting dinged by something, or at least getting scraped. Yeah, and this was purchased, as I mentioned, through Mosaic Underwater Cameras. Customer service was great. They answered all my questions. Really happy with how the whole process went. Yeah, thanks guys.